Welcome in. Jesse Shule here from jesseshule.com. This is the NFL Kickoff Show, Thursday evening. Last week's show was a very successful one. I gave the boys a can of whoop ass, although I did let Dan Kaiser get a win. If I got to give the boys one win or they won't come back on the show. We did have Nicholas Earl on the show, and Nicholas Earl had the Bills. I had the Bengals. We laid out a can of whoop ass on one of those Earl twins. And who else did we have on the show? I believe we had Rye on the show, and he was on the wrong side of the Frankfurt game. He had the Miami Dolphins, and I had the Chiefs. Miami still hasn't beaten a winning team, Rye. But we got three more special guests today. We got Kevin Thomas coming in to talk about the NFL Europe game again in Frankfurt, Germany. We got the Colts and the Patriots, and we got Rycape back looking for revenge. He's talking Cleveland Browns, Baltimore Ravens, and Dan Kaiser looking to remain undefeated on the show. And he's going to talk about the total in the Detroit Lions and LA Chargers game. Before we get those guys in here to talk about this week's slate, let me remind you that you can get all my picks 30 days, all access, all sports, only $99 at jesseshule.com. Offer expires at the end of the month. Why should you be interested in that? Well, we did sweep the board with premium NFL picks last week, and we're off to an undefeated start with college hoops. The NBA, the college football, that stuff's been a bit shaky lately, but we're going to pick that up. But enough of that. Let's get Kevin Thomas in here to talk about the early NFL game. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing great, Jesse. I see you got a nice haircut there. I figure after beating you 2-0 already, maybe the Marines might be a good thing for you to get into, right?
Well, Kevin, it's 5 o'clock in the morning here. I've been up all night working, so this hairdo is probably just end of day grease. But take the good with the bad. But what do you think about this early NFL game in Frankfurt? Are you excited about it? Do you think this is going to be a good game, a good matchup? Tell me what your thoughts are.
No, I really don't. I really don't love any of the international games because you never know what you're going to get. Young kids in another, going overseas and stuff, playing super early. The time zones, the change. I mean, look how far ahead you are to us. So I mean, that all plays a factor here. The only good thing I see is Brian Belichick is 3-0 in international games so far this season. So I'm leaning on the Patriots here. I know when you set it up, it was you have it at +2. The +2, I kind of like that. As we know, the Patriots are all about taking away your best player. Well, if you look at the Colts, their best player is probably Taylor running the ball. Him and Moss. So I think they're going to stack the box and try to let Gardner Minshew beat them, which with his 167.5 yards a game probably won't be too much of a stretch. Now, I know lots of injuries. I know Jackson isn't traveling with the Patriots because of personal reasons. I know there's a lot of things going against them here, but if you tend to look at these scores, they're usually a lot lower. I think Bill O'Brien, I think he realized Ramon Stevenson is the way to go, the short dink and dunk, especially with all the receivers hurt for the Patriots. The only fear I have is now that the Patriots ranked 16th in the AFC, that's last place. The Colts are 12th place. Do the Patriots want to win? I mean, they're sitting with number one. They're tied with two teams for that number one pick. We all know they need a quarterback. I don't know if Mac Jones is their future. The only other thing is a lot of people are talking that this Brian Belichick's job's on the line. I personally don't believe that for all the championships he's won there. But who knows? He's getting up there in age. The offense hasn't looked good in years. So I'm going to ride with the Patriots here. I think Belichick gets enough out of his defense to keep Gardner Minshew throwing a couple picks. I think Mac Jones, Hunter Henry's going to be his top target, and it's going to be Ezekiel Elliott and Ramondre Stevenson running the ball, and I think it's going to be a close game. I will take that 1 or 2 points for the cover.
All right, Kevin. Well, I will tell you that sometimes, because I put these games out early in the week, I put out the schedule, I let everybody know. Sometimes by the time we get to the show, I don't quite like the pick as much as I did earlier in the week. But in this case, some things have happened that have me liking the Colts even more. The rumor mill is churning about Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft. Apparently, some infighting between the owner and the head coach of the Patriots. And the injury report for the Patriots is pretty disturbing when you look at it. You got Kendrick Bourne on the IR. Bourne is their leading receiver, leads the team in receiving yards. And that's kind of an indictment of how talented this receiving core actually is, that Bourne is their leading receiver. In addition, you've got Devontae Parker and Demario Douglas, both listed as questionable. That leaves the only healthy starting receiver, Juju Smith-Schuster. And while the name sounds familiar, he's been a bit of a ghost on the field this year, Smith-Schuster. So not a lot of talent.
He didn't play every game, right? He didn't start out. He was a so Juju is still a stud. Got him back. Devontae Parker concussion, but Juju's still a stud. So I wouldn't say that Juju's a no-show.
We'll see if Juju is a stud this week. I mean, he has played some games, right? He's seen action, right?
Yeah, he has, yes.
And I don't think he's got like any 100-yard games and multiple touchdowns. I mean, his stats look pretty thin to me. Maybe they've been easing him in.
Who for the Colts has a 100-yard game?
That's true. That is true. I'm gonna get to that though, because Jonathan Taylor is, he sat out. They brought him back, and granted, he hasn't been lighting it up either. But progressively, he's been getting more touches every game. He had a season high in touches last week. Did fairly well, and I mean, this really looks like a good spot for a breakout performance for Jonathan Taylor. I will mention, I didn't even finish with the injury report for the Patriots, though. It's looking pretty bad. There's not they've got 4 left tackles on their depth chart, and they don't have a single healthy left tackle heading to Germany. They've got 2 guys that are questionable and 2 guys on injured reserve. So they could be in a situation where they're moving guys from the right side to the left side and moving guys. I mean, the offensive line is in shambles. And that's probably why the Patriots find themselves in the mess that they're in. Both starting quarterbacks for the Patriots also questionable. And they didn't even bring J.C. Jackson over to Frankfurt for the game, so they'll be thin at quarterback most likely. And you mentioned the Colts. I mean, the Colts aren't lighting it up, but I'm a Gardner Minshew guy. I liked Minshew at Washington State with Mike Leach. He's a gamer. He's a guy that, he's popular in the locker room. Guys like playing with him. Guys like playing around him. And that helps in a game like this when you got to travel overseas. He's the kind of guy that I think could rally the troops. And I just think Indianapolis at this point has more to play for, more to be positive about. And they got more healthy bodies on the field. So I feel pretty comfortable backing the Colts here in this early game, Kevin.
I wouldn't touch it with money, but yeah, I still like the Patriots +2. I think that's a plus. Like you talked about the injuries to the Patriots, but have you talked about the Colts secondary? They're god horrible. I mean, they're giving up tons of points. They gave up 39 points to P.J. Walker of the Browns. I mean, the Browns are a run team, and P.J. Walker, he did a number on them. So the Colts can be beat downfield. I just don't think there's anyone that can catch the ball for the Patriots. But on the other side, if Josh Downs don't play, they're not stretching the field either. Michael Pittman is not a speed demon. He's just a slot guy that runs a 4.7 or whatever. So they're going to be in. It's going to be about which defense plays better. And when a team's one-dimensional, Belichick's numbers are phenomenal. And Steichen, I mean, he's got a pass this year. I mean, he's 4-5, but still, he got a pass. He don't have to win these games. He could tank and get some draft capital himself too. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those games, Kevin, where there's no shortage of negative things that can be said about both these teams. But
I know.
but we got to pick one. I'm picking the Colts. You're picking the Patriots. But why don't you tell us, Kevin, how you've been doing lately, where people can find you, and what they can expect from you this weekend and moving forward?
Look, as I explain all the time, I do a lot of YouTube videos. I'm up over 1,000 subscribers now. Make sure to go over Sports Picks with Kevin Thomas. Check that out. What I tell everybody, long term with guys like Jesse, Dan, Wycrap, these guys you want long term because you got so many sports right now: hockey, college football, NFL, basketball. College basketball just started. I'm 0-3 in college basketball, but hang on, guys. I usually finish real strong. It's usually a square game in the beginning. I hate to say that word because a lot of the favorites win, and I tend not to, like the Patriots. They're 2-7, and they're getting 2 points against a 4-5 team. That's a red flag right there. They're getting 38% of bets, but 60% of money. That's another huge red flag. That's what I look at. That's how I start my process of looking at games. When I see those numbers match up, then I start diving in. But look at the 30-day packages. Can't go wrong. Over at Sports Memo, they're always running great deals. That's basically where I sell. I sell on a lot of sites. So I like to say that I'm 9-2 in college football, but one site had 19 and a half, another 19. So I'm going to say I'm 8-2-1 in college football. My last 11. One of the top college football cappers. This is the time of the season, like past 2 weeks is when I usually really start taking off. That's when the odds makers are, starting to get back what they lost at the beginning of the season. That's where I start jumping in and taking a little bit of that too. So you can't go wrong with long-term deals. It's the way to go, especially with all these great sports going on right now. So anywhere you can go over and get any premium pick and buy each pick individually. But like I said, look at the packages.
And you can find Kevin's packages at his Sports Memo page, and the link is in the description box below this video. And I want to thank you for stopping by, Kevin. I'm going to send you backstage for a while. We're going to pull out Rye Cape to talk about the Browns and the Ravens. How you doing, Rye?
All right, we're allowed to talk about a good team now, huh?
You didn't like that. You're not a big fan of the Colts and the Patriots, are you?
Patriots are in bad shape, but I do have Mac Jones in my fantasy team. So if you could do a little something, that'd be nice to help me out.
All righty. Well, we're here to talk about a big game in the AFC North. You want to go first today, Rye, or you want me to go first?
Sure,
I should have offered Kevin the same thing.
Yeah, I'll go first because you might not even want to talk after I'm done.
Now that's confidence. All right. I can't wait to hear what you got to say now.
All right. So, yeah, I'll get to it. So the last time we saw these teams face off, Baltimore won 28-3. That game was in Cleveland. Obviously, Watson was not playing. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was the quarterback. Obviously, Watson is an upgrade, but I don't think by too much. Last week, we expected Seattle to give Baltimore problems. What did Baltimore do? They won 37-3. It was over pretty quick. Baltimore looks like the best team in the league. Browns defense has looked good. You have to give it to them, but not the last time they saw Baltimore. Cleveland defense is number one against the pass, but Baltimore doesn't need to pass the ball. Baltimore likes to run the ball. They're number two in rush attempts at 33 per game. They also do it well. They're number one in rush yards at 160 per game, and number three in yards per rush at 4.8. Cleveland also relies on the run game as well, but they're only averaging 3.9 yards per rush since Chubb went down. Ravens allowed 9 points or fewer in 3 of their 4 home games. Jadeveon Clowney has had a resurgence. Roquan Smith, this defense is really, really good. Browns only have 7 offensive touchdowns on the road. They're bad in the red zone. Ravens are number one in the red zone category. As I said, they already beat this team by 25 on the road. Now the Ravens are healthier than the last time that they saw Cleveland. Also, a stat I saw, a little trend. the teams coming off a home shutout win have been pretty bad in their next outing. They go 13-17 straight up and 10-19-1 against the spread, which is 34.5% in their last 30 games following good defensive performance. So I like Baltimore to handle business here at home against the division rival.
Well, Rye, I'm not surprised you like the Ravens. The Ravens are a pretty popular pick right now. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said Baltimore looks like the best team in the league, because you're not the only guy saying that. If you tune on the TV, you go online, you look at all the sports pages, pretty much everybody's saying that. Baltimore looks like the best team in the league. And that has me thinking it's a sell high spot for Baltimore. So hear me out. I know what you're saying. The Ravens did crush them in Cleveland earlier this year. I believe that was 28-6. Like you said, though, that was DTR playing quarterback, and he was throwing the ball to the wrong team. He threw 3 picks in that game. Prior to that game, these two teams, when they played head-to-head, 5 straight meetings decided by less than a touchdown, including last year's game in Baltimore, decided by a field goal. So these teams, when they get together, they usually play close games. I like this Baltimore defense. I like both these defenses, of course, but Cleveland, I mean, they won 3 of their last 4. The only loss they have this year by more than 4 points was against Baltimore with their backup quarterback. And they should probably have that win over Pittsburgh. I'm still a little bit bummed out about that loss at Pittsburgh with the Nick Chubb injury. They were up big late in that game and then blew it. But yeah, are they capable of coming into Baltimore, playing a close game? I think they absolutely are. Divisional underdog in a spot where the other team's flying high. It seems like a sell high spot on the Ravens to me. I'll take the points with the Cleveland Browns. I know we're going to have to agree to disagree on that, Rye, but why don't you tell us how you've been doing of late, what you got going on, and where people can find you?
Yeah, so you could always find me at Rye Cape on all social media. I'm back on the leaderboards. I've been doing really well in the NBA since it started. NHL has been good to me. I had a great weekend for NFL last week. My ride or die free play is the Atlanta Hawks, Orlando Magic, under 231.5. They're playing in Mexico City. I think the elevation is going to be a problem for both of these teams. You could also find my premium picks at insidersroom.com. I have 3 up right now, 2 hockey plays and a college basketball play. So go check them out. Let's cash some tickets.
And you can find the link to Rye's page at the Insiders Room in the description box below this video. Well, thank you very much for stopping by, Rye. We'll talk to you in a bit. We're going to send you backstage, and I'm going to bring out the professor. Dan the man, you took me down last week. You think you can do it again this week?
Well, now I understand why you invited me back. You want revenge.
That's exactly right, my man. We're looking at the Detroit Lions, LA Chargers. This should be a good game. I mean, both these teams are firing on all cylinders. What do you have to say about this game, Dan?
Well, I thought you must be.
Or do you want me to go first? Sorry.
I'll go first. Yeah, you must be really confident, though, that you let me go with my hometown team here.
Well, yeah, I would have let you pick the Lions if you wanted, because I kind of like the Chargers in this matchup.
Well, yeah, but that's a discussion for another time. But I like the total in this one. I think this game is going to be high scoring. Both teams put up 25 points a game. Both defenses give up 20 points a game. So I'm looking for a lot of points here. And I look at this Lions team. The rich just get richer. David Montgomery should return in this game. He was their best back at the beginning of the season. But now Jahmyr Gibbs stepped up big against the Raiders. He had 189 rushing and receiving yards. That's what we expected from him when we drafted him so high. Their offense is led by Jared Goff, and their wide receiving core of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Laporte is probably right now a top 5 tight end as a rookie. Reynolds, name them. We just picked up Donovan Peoples-Jones. We're loaded at the wideout position. I guess the only thing you have to worry about with this Chargers defense is they're rushing the quarterback. Bosa, Khalil Mack, Paluto. They have 19.5 sacks. But the Lions have one of the top offensive lines there is in the league. I like Herbert. He doesn't seem to win the big games, so I think he doesn't get his credit as much as he should. But I like but he throws the ball all over the field. They're down a couple wide receivers, but I still think they can move the ball against the Lions defense, who's been a little bit of a disappointment to me this year. Eckler will be able to get his yards. And to be honest, I'm going against the grain a little bit here. Detroit's only 4-4 to the over/under this year, and the Chargers are 2-6 to the under in their games. I just like the offenses in this one. I think they click in this one. And at 48.5, I think it's going to be at least 28-24 to somebody. So I think this game's going to go over. So I'll turn it over to you, Jesse.
All right. Well, I am concerned about Jared Goff on the road. A lot has been made of the home-away splits for Jared Goff. Of course, this is another indoor game, so it's not like he's playing outside at Soldier Field or something, but still, long history for Goff of being a lot better at home than he is on the road. And that trend, while it's not quite as talked about this year, still pretty significant. 8 touchdowns, 3 picks at home, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks on the road. Again, you mentioned the Chargers defense been playing well of late. Well, they're finally healthy. This Chargers team has been ravaged by injuries, not just this season, but previous seasons. Finally, they've got all their guys sort of healthy. And unfortunately, though, their offense on paper looks like it could be the best in the NFL. The game is not played on paper, though, and they're held back by their coaching staff. It seems like every game they're leaving points on the board with silly decisions. I don't think the Lions get enough credit for how well they are playing defensively. If you look at the Chargers' recent games, they've gone under this number of 48.5 in 5 straight games. I just think it's a little. I think people look at this game and say, we got the Detroit Lions 6-2. They score a lot of points. We got the LA Chargers loaded with talent. They're stacked. You put them together, we'll get points. But I'm not sure it ends up that way. I think these two teams can both play defense, and it's a pretty high number for today's NFL, 48.5, especially with so many unders hitting these days. So I'm going to go under the total of 48.5, and I'm going to feel pretty comfortable that I'll get my revenge over the professor this week.
Well, listen, being a Lions fan with Goff the last couple of years, I do understand the home and away splits for Goff, but he is going home. He started his career in Los Angeles, so he is going home. So I can't see that be a big.
You remember how he played in Los Angeles, though? He wasn't that great.
We led to the Super Bowl.
I suppose, but
we'll see. It's all right. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I like my chances. I know it's high. I know it's a high number, and I always get burned when I think the Lions are going to score a ton of points. But hey, we'll see.
Well, Dan, you seem pretty happy with yourself. So why don't you tell everybody what you got going on, where people can find you, what they can expect from you this weekend?
All right, yeah, things have been going really good since November started. Last couple of days have not been as great. Hockey's been going really well. NFL, especially on these island games, I'm doing really good at. College basketball off to an 0-2 start, but I got a big game up, a 4% play up tonight in college basketball that I really like. You can find me at Jesse's site, jesseshul.com, sportsmemo.insiderzoom.com. Check out the Insider Zoom Discord. There's a lot. Rye Cape's on there. Some other good handicappers are on there. A lot of good free information. And just check us out. There's lots of good free stuff out there. And as Kevin says, you got to look at handicappers long term. Don't look at like what we've done the last like 2 or 3 days. You got to look over long term because we can't win every day, but we try.
And you can find Dan, the link to Dan's page in the description box below the video. Dan, let's bring the other guys in. Let's have a little bit of a discussion about what's going on here. So we got Thursday night football tonight. What an ugly looking matchup this is. You know it's going to be ugly when the Bears are the favorite. Anybody got any opinions on this one?
Yeah, I didn't touch anything on it, but I think a big thing, this is a big game for both of these teams. The Bears actually have the Carolina Panthers first round draft pick, so it's a big deal if they beat them. Obviously, they're probably going to get the 2 top 5 picks, but if you could keep Carolina with that 1 win to get that number 1 pick, that's really big.
That is interesting. Yeah, I know most of the guys are on the Bears. I just can't bring myself to bet on. First of all, I don't like betting on Thursday night games, and second of all, I don't like betting on the Bears. But everything seems to be pointing in that direction. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I don't know. I again, as of this afternoon, the Bears still don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. So, I mean,
I think it's going to be the rookie Badgett or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And he's looked pretty good too. He looked good in preseason. In the action we've seen him in regular season games, he's looked pretty good. So that makes sense to me. But
if you listen to the coach the last couple of days, I still don't think they've ruled Fields out yet. The coach said he's not playing, but then they said they'll find out before the game. So they don't really they don't know what's going on in Chicago. So.
They know what's going on. They're just not being forthcoming. But
hey, wait, Jesse, I listen to Chicago sports every day. I swear this coach doesn't know what's going on half the time. If you listen to him.
Well, yeah, and then there's coaches that actually don't know what's going on. Yeah, you make a good point there. But Dan, you are a big Michigan guy, Michigan State alum. Any comments on Harbaugh and the cheating scandal?
I've always said they're scum. So
I've always said
they're scum. I always call them scum. And so it's not going to change. It's just the whole arrogant attitude of the Walmart Wolverine fans that come out and say, "Oh, we've done nothing wrong."
And they don't steal signs at East Lansing, right, Dan?
What was that?
They don't steal signs at East Lansing.
We don't send people to other.
Not like that.
We don't send people to other stadiums and record the signals. We don't send our scouts to opposing sidelines dressed up in that team's gear. I mean, here's the thing, and here's what's going to happen. Central Michigan, their coach will probably be fired, or their coaching staff will be fired. They'll probably get some sort of penalty, and nothing will happen to Michigan. So it's what it is.
And if we were going to do that, we certainly wouldn't get caught, right, Dan?
Hey, listen, look, we've only won 2 games all year. Obviously, if we have been doing it, we've been wasting a lot of money.
Yeah, you got to try something.
If we have been doing it, we're doing a poor job of it. So,
I think they're all cheating, if you ask me. And I guess there's news coming out now that Michigan's opponents were exchanging signs from giving each other the signs for Michigan signs, and I mean, it sounds like the whole thing was just corrupt all the way around.
Yeah, but see, now you're trying to put these false equivalencies. There's nothing in the rules saying that you can't share signs, you can't share information. There's nothing that says coaches can't talk and share information.
I guess I'm just trying to look at it from probabilities. Like for example, the Astros cheating. I'm pretty consistent with this stuff. Whether it's PEDs, the Astros scandal, this particular scandal, you catch one somebody gets caught, you make an example of them, but they're not alone. It's not like there's one bad apple. The Astros weren't the only team cheating. I mean, Bill Belichick, the Patriots did the exact same thing.
Well, I know. Ago. Right, yeah, exactly. They were doing what Michigan was doing, but nobody's ever been able to show any other team doing what Michigan was doing.
This is true. But I still think they're doing it. But let's shift topics because there's a big game for Michigan this week. Michigan at Penn State. I guess we probably all got premiums on that game, and I don't know if anybody is comfortable discussing what's going to go on. I actually don't have a premium on it, and I find it quite interesting because, Michigan hasn't played anybody. They did steamroll Ohio State last year, though, and so you can't really say they haven't played anybody, so they must suck. They might well be as good as they were last year, and that was pretty good. Penn State didn't look that great against Ohio State, but let me ask you this. If Ohio State didn't have Marvin Harrison Jr., what would the final score in that game have been? Because it seemed like he beat them single-handedly in that game.
Same thing if it was at Beaver Stadium, I think it would be a different game too. Nittany Lions could be heroes this weekend, but I just think Michigan's so much better.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like what I saw from Penn State in the Ohio State game. That said, though, I thought that game was a little misleading, the final score. Like I said, I think Marvin Harrison torched them. Michigan doesn't have a Marvin Harrison, so I'm leaning toward the under in that game.
I like the under too. Last year when they played, Penn State defense had trouble getting to the quarterback. They had a lot of trouble with that offensive line. So I think they're better this season, but if they have that same problem, this game's not going to be close.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, that's for sure. Any other big games in the NFL or college that anybody's got any interesting opinions on?
Not in particularly. All our primetime games are pretty garbage this week. Eagles are off. Dolphins are off. Chiefs are off. It's not the greatest board.
No, there's some big games in college though that I've got my eye on. We do have Oregon and Utah in the Pac-12. No, sorry, not Oregon and Utah. We got Oregon and USC, and we got Washington and Utah. Actually, that's a good game to have a look at because I noticed this afternoon that the totals going down and the numbers coming down. I think the weather is going to be a pretty big factor in Washington this weekend. And if you take the passing game away from Washington against a team like Utah, that all of a sudden we might have a game on our hands. And that could be interesting.
It's in Utah, yeah?
No, it's in Seattle. It's in Washington. But weather is calling for rain and wind, and a bit of a letdown spot for Washington. I mean, they're 9-0, but if you remember, after they beat the Ducks there, when they won at home against the Ducks, they followed that up with a 15-7 win over Arizona State. Right, they should have blown out Arizona State by 20 or 30, but they suffered a bit of a letdown. And once these teams get to 9-0, it's pretty hard to go undefeated throughout a whole season, right? That you have your bad games, your moments, your letdown spots. And Utah is, they're a tough team to play. Tougher at home than they are on the road, but you get some rain and wind that favors the more physical, the better defense. I think I'm putting Washington on upset alert. That's what I'm saying right here.
I think both of those teams could be on upset alert. Oregon as well.
Really? Mm-hmm. Against USC? I don't see that. I think the Ducks are going to blow those guys out of the water.
I mean, They should, but I don't know. I think with the new defensive coordinator, they might tighten up a bit. Could be a letdown spot as well. But yeah, they need to see somebody in the Pac-12 championship to get into this college football playoffs. So we'll see what happens.
I'm not sure a new defensive coordinator is going to get the defensive backs for USC to tackle.
Can't be worse.
I tend to agree with Dan. I definitely agree with Dan. But boys, you know what? It's 5:40 in the morning where I'm at. I want to thank you all for showing up to debate about these NFL games this week. I hope we see you again soon, potentially next week. But we're going to call it a night. So
right.
Thank you guys for stopping by. Good luck, unless you're against us.
All right. Thanks, Jess.